I've just created a brand new tool for the Smart Woodshop, the Smart Drill Press. I know, it's a drill guide. But remember, the Smart Woodshop is a portable shop, and I've tried multiple small benchtop drill presses, and they were either too heavy to move around or they just didn't have the range that I needed. I tried a bunch of different drill guides, some much less expensive ones, and I either sent them back or got rid of them because they just didn't work very well. So I thought about everything that I need in a drill guide to create my own, the Smart Woodshop Drill Guide. It's not the Smart Woodshop Drill Guide. This one is made by UJK. So what do I find so special about it that makes it smart? It's really simple. There's not a lot to it. To begin with, the operation is really smooth. The chuck, you can see how well that spins. The bearings are just fantastic in this thing. The chuck itself will open up to 10 millimeters. And for me, that isn't enough. I want for my hole saws, which I want to be able to use with this. My mandrel for this, for most of my hole saws, won't fit in 10. So I'm going to go up to one that opens up to 13. The rails themselves, they're coated, they're smooth, nice bearings, brass bearings in there. This moves up nice and smooth. But these, I believe, are a steel. You just have I think the chuck has enough weight to it as well that gives you kind of a nice feel, a nice mass. You don't feel like the thing is going to flex or bend or move around like the less expensive ones that I tried would do. And right on those same rails are the death stops. You got one on each side. Again, they move real smoothly and they have a nice brass knob. They don't take a lot of cranking down to keep them from moving. The top caps pop off. This is nice because then the trolley can come all the way off. And if you're going to chuck this into your drill, that's the way I do it. It's a lot easier to do that and then just put the drill, with it back on the drill and drop it on. Now what I'm going to try out, and I've done a little bit of it, see what I think over time, is it's set up for this quick release, the typical ones that work with drills and the magnetic holders. So I'm going to give that a try to see how that works, because it drops right in, and that way I can just pop the drill off and on from here. But I haven't done a lot of that. I've been chucking it in to this point. Their engineering team did do something really nice for storage on board, and that is these centering posts. I'll show you how I use these in a minute, but they are right there stored in a nice little garage, two of them, easy to get at, so I'm not going to lose those. There's an easy to read, well-marked gauge on both sides, so it's pretty easy to set in your angle. Now, for me, 90% of what I need is a flat bottom hole. I want to do big hole saws, and this is a 2.5 inch, by the way, and that does fit. I haven't actually drilled with this yet, but I was just, again, I don't have my mandrel won't fit in this chuck, so I haven't been able to test this out yet. But it does appear that at least 2.5, maybe a little bit more, will go through. But these flat bottom holes for like Forstner bits and those, this is where the drill guide really will come in handy, because I can lock it right in, and it's an easy to read scale on both sides, and a big locking handle here that you hold, you can really get some torque on that. So this thing isn't going to move. It'll go to 60-degree angle on both sides on the scale, but when you read their specifications, they say 55. I haven't figured out why they limit it to that. Possibly it has to do with how the bit would interact with the base. So, or maybe you can go a little further than that, depending on the size of the drill bit. I wish they would have had detents on there, at least at 0, maybe at 15, 30, 45, some of the typical ones, just so you're there. And at minimum 1 on 0, so that I know that I'm locked in back to 0 and I know I'm there. In defense of them, though, it might be clunky to put something in there to try to keep this really simple and smooth and not have something that can come loose or get knocked out of alignment. And they made the scale very easy to read and easy to lock in. And on top of the base, they put in these little V supports. These are great if you're cutting into dowels or chair legs or anything like that. A hole perfectly centered in it. And again, if you're doing an angle, like when you have chair legs like that, and then you have the spreaders in the chairs going around and those holes, that kind of stuff, I admire furniture builders that can do that. That's just outside of my skill level. The aluminum base has a rubber pad on it, and that's really handy for me in the way I work, because it when I'm putting pressure down on it, it gives it grip so I don't get creep, particularly when I'm doing bigger bits. Now, occasionally I want to clamp it. It's pretty easy to clamp. I avoid it when at all possible, because keeping the job moving and being efficient is really important to me. But it isn't that big of a deal to clamp it if I really need to lock it in and get an action like I would have with a drill press. The base has this center index line that goes all the way from the outside edge, wraps over in on both sides. So I can center this if I have a board with a center mark on it to actually set that to. By keeping it flat, I was able to cut a clean hole all the way through, and I know that the hole is parallel on top and the bottom, not getting any drift that way. I could also, if I wanted to stop it so that I was just going to have a flat bottom hole in the material, then I just move my stops up a little bit. And if I had a lot of repetition of like a line of holes, I would probably clamp a board, you know, on the outside edge here. There's room on this so that I could just butt it up and know that I'd be centered and just check my sight lines there. There's also mounting holes in the base. Two of the holes here are for the centering pins, but these other holes here and these four here, I can create little fixtures, little plywood fixtures, and they also have a centering vise option that mounts on the top here in these elongated holes. So there's a purpose for all of this stuff to kind of leverage what you can do when you get into some, you know, some creative stuff, or creative and repetitive, that you can sort of lock this in. You can see by being shallow, you could really see if I were off. So we got a nice flat bottom hole there. Now what about angles? Let's see what we can do with that. That would be good for creating some simple little pieces like coat racks and things, where I could make a nice solid wood board, edge it, get it all dialed in, figure out my layout, my peg layout, and put my pegs in, you know, whatever alignment, whatever angle, you know, that I feel that would work. So if I want to drill a hole in the center of material like this 18 mil ply, I could lay out a line, find it, and you know, try to hold it in place. But with the centering guide, I know that I can get right to it. So to use the self-centering post, you just put it on top of your material and just rotate until they hit. And then you can move it back and forth if you're trying to, you know, get it in alignment this way. And then you're ready to cut. It's going to be automatically centered as you cut down. Now I've done this and can do this by hand, but I also have my panel jig over there, which I use for edge banding, and this will be perfect for that. The self-centering post stored on board, pretty straightforward to use. You got these opposing holes that they're threaded. With the 18 mil clamped in place, rotate it around, that centers it automatically. Again, if I were on layout, if I had a number of holes to do or a specific location, I could move it back and forth, lift the drill bit up, and find where the cross line is. In this case, that's not the case, so we'll pretend that's where I'm trying to go. Finally, a drill press, perfect for the Smart Woodshop, exactly what I was looking for. TSO is now stocking these. I'm going to put an affiliate link in the description of this video. If you go there and use that link, which I would greatly appreciate, TSO will share a little bit with us, but they won't charge you any extra. Mahalo for hanging out with me in the Smart Wood Shop.